As spring began in 1945, an Allied victory was imminent in Europe. The Axis was all but defeated, and Berlin was nearly in Soviet hands. On March 7th, the Allied troops in the west first crossed the Rhine, quickly taking Cologne. For the remainder of the month, Allied armies would continue to cross the Rhine into Germany at new points. On March 29th, the Red Army invaded Austria, while the Western Allies took Frankfurt. The following day, Danzig fell to Soviet forces. In early April, the Allies launched their final assault to push the Axis out of Italy. Buchenwald, one of the last major concentration camps to be liberated, was liberated on the 10th. Amidst the major Allied victories, the United States suffered a major hit to their morale when President Roosevelt died on the 12th. Luckily, his successor, Harry Truman, would soon lead the United States to victory. When Hitler celebrated his 56th birthday on April 20th, he was sheltered deep underground in the Führerbunker as his mental state quickly spiraled out of control. His infamous tirade about the incompetence of his generals led him to make even worse tactical decisions, sealing his army's fate. By the 29th, the concentration camp Dachau was liberated, and Axis forces in Italy surrendered. The following day, Adolf Hitler and his newlywed wife, Eva Braun, committed suicide. On May 2nd, the Soviets finally defeated the Nazi forces defending Berlin. The Soviet flag was planted over the Reichstag, and all German troops in Berlin surrendered unconditionally. On May 7th, the final unconditional German surrender was made. Reich President Karl Dönitz appointed Alfred Jodl to sign the final surrender on the Western Front, and Wilhelm Keitel to sign the final surrender on the Eastern Front. Exactly 1 minute after midnight on May 8th, World War II was over in Europe. Massive crowds congregated in Trafalgar Square, greeted by King George and Winston Churchill. People flooded the streets, waving flags of the Allied nations and holding up Churchill's V for Victory sign. In the United States, as Truman celebrated his birthday, he wanted the flags to remain at half-mast in honor of the late FDR, saying that he wished Roosevelt had lived to see the day. Nonetheless, Truman remarked that because of the victory celebrations, this year was to become his favorite birthday. Crowds gathered in Times Square just like in London. The Russian people were not notified of the victory until May 9th. All across the Soviet Union, people celebrated the defeat of the Nazis. A massive victory parade was planned for Moscow for June 24th. Even with the celebration and excitement, the war was far from over. Japan still posed as big of a threat as ever. Still, the victory celebrations were exactly what the Allies needed to boost their morale and finish off the war strong. Today, 75 years later, people in former Allied countries all over the world still celebrate this victory. Just because the war wasn't entirely over, it doesn't make the celebration any less important. Today, we remember every man who put his life on the line to defend liberty and freedom from the Nazi threat. Today, we celebrate their sacrifice. Today, we remember the miracle that was an Allied victory. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Late Modern History for inside information, behind the scenes, and sneak peeks at upcoming videos. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. This is Matthew, and I hope to see you next time.
Goodbye, goodbye, went a dear baby dear from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know, I'll feel sick of the death to go. Don't cry, don't die, there's a silver lining in the sky. Once more, old thing, cheerio, cheerio.